Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another training. So, what we're going to be talking about today, Fed Now, CBDC. We're going to dive into those things. Are we headed to a cashless society? Is July D-Day? This is what we're going to be talking about. But before we dive into that, I want you guys to join my Facebook group. Okay? And the reason why you want to do that is because you're going to be able to see behind the scenes and have conversations with me personally inside of the group. So if you have a question about anything, you can come into this group, drop your question into the group. I'll respond. We also go live every single week and we're talking about different topics and you guys can chat with me live. So I'm going to put a link in the description. I want you guys to join it. Now, let's start talking about Fed Now because this is something that has been very controversial and a lot of you are confused about it. So let me break this down for you, okay? So this is coming straight from the Federal Reserve. Is Fed Now replacing cash? Is it a central bank digital currency? The answer is no. Fed Now is not related to a digital currency. Fed Now is a payment service that the Federal Reserve is making available for banks and credit unions to transfer funds. It is like other Federal Reserve payment services such as FedWire and Fed ACH. The Fed Now service is neither a form of currency nor a step toward eliminating any form of payment, including cash. There you have it, boys and girls. So a lot of you have been saying, hey, Thomas, we're going to a digital age in July. And now what's funny about that is that if that were true, that would be a hell of a short amount of time to let the American people know, don't you think? Don't you think that if something like that happened, there would be riots in the streets right now? Because what I really and truly believe is that the majority of people in the United States absolutely have no idea what it means to be in the digital age. They have no idea what it means to be in the cashless society. Because what a lot of people are thinking is, okay, just like how you can go and trade and sell your Bitcoin and everything is all private. That's not the case. That's not how this works. The digital age, if we completely remove ourselves from cash, that means that everything that we do is monitored, which it already is. But now it's really going to be scrutinized because now you can't even do things under the table. The one thing that I love to always bring up is when I was a kid, I used to get birthday cards from my grandmother, and then it would be $5 in there, cash. Now, if my grandmother tried to do that now, she would be taxed, or I would be taxed based on this digital currency, which would be tracked by the government. Because the difference between digital currency that the government creates and digital currency such as Bitcoin is Bitcoin was made to separate itself from the government and to regulate itself. That's the reason why there's so many crypto scams and things of that nature, because there's nothing backing it. So if the government is backing digital currency and allowing us to be in a situation where we don't have to use cash whatsoever, well, what do you think the consequences of this would be, right? The consequences of this, my friends, is that now whenever you are behind on car payment, for example, let's say you owe $200 for your car payment, you have $200 in your bank account. Eventually it would get to the point where the bank could freeze your account and make it so that you could not do anything with that $200 except make that payment. And that's essentially what happens when you give the government that much power. That's the reason why they've been looking into so many different ways of how can they control crypto? How can they get into crypto? And it's just really, honestly, is scary to me that so many people are so thirsty to get into the digital age when you have no idea what plans the government has for you. Right? And so let's dive into yet another article, just in case, hey, maybe you don't believe the Federal Reserve, right? Maybe you care more about your magazines, right? So let's talk about Forbes. Forbes did a very similar article on this, what the Fed's new system is and what it's not. Okay, so what is Fed Now? Fed Now is the first U.S. government created and backed portal allowing banks to send and receive funds almost instantly. Will FedNow replace cash? No. The FedNow system won't replace the dollar or digital currency for that matter. Think of it as a platform that will transfer your dollar online the same way popular money apps transfer funds. Okay, so let me break Fed down to you guys in its simplest form. FedNow is basically just Cash App for businesses, essentially, right? It's just another Cash App. That's all that it is. And let me explain what I mean here. When you send, like if I sent money to my wife right now through Cash App, she's going to have that money today. It doesn't matter if it's 11:59 on a Friday. It doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m. on a Saturday. It doesn't matter what it is. She will always get that money on time every single time, right? Now, imagine if you were a business owner. If you were a business owner, and let's say that it's almost 5 p.m. on a Friday night, and let's say you run a coffee shop, and let's say you just ran out of beans, and you need to send an order out to your distributor, wherever it is that you're getting your beans from, and let's just say that, damn, it's going to probably take 2 to 3 business days for that payment to get from you to that distributor, right? So what FedNow does is it has basically created its own Cash App where instead of the money going through this middleman where it has to kind of hold and they have to verify that you have the funds, and then it has to go to your distributors, their bank, and then kind of check in on their end, make sure that they can accept the money, make sure that nothing's counterfeit. That's why things take 2 to 3 business days. But with FedNow being implemented in July, if I was a coffee shop owner and it's Friday night, 5 right, p.m., as soon as I send that payment, my distributor has that money in their hands like clockwork. They have it right now. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is, even if I sent them that money at 12 in the morning. Okay? So, and then in another instance as well, a regular person could use that Cash App, right? Cash App as well. So what would happen in this situation would be if you owed your friend some money for something, and maybe they let you borrow some money, and maybe they have a big payment coming up and you are late or behind on paying them back. Let's say they need the money by tomorrow and it's Thursday night, and obviously you don't have Cash App or PayPal or anything like that. You would have an app from your bank that would allow you to send money to someone, basically an ACH transfer, and it would hit their bank account immediately, even though typically that type of transfer might take 2 to 3 business days, right? So hopefully that makes sense in regards to what FedNow actually is. So it's not a digital currency. It's not replacing cash. It's basically just a government Cash App, guys, right? So you guys can relax. Now, let's talk about CBDC, right? Let's talk about what that is, right? Because what that is a central bank digital currency, right? So these are commercial banks, right? So this is your U.S. Bank, your Wells Fargo's, all of these different, small banks. The central bank is the bank that sends out money to all of the commercial banks. And so the commercial banks are scattered all across the world. And the central banks distribute money to these commercial banks. And the reason why it's done this way is because only the commercial banks in their individual areas, in their individual cities and states and municipalities, only they know what's best for those areas in terms of finances and money distribution. So the central bank doles out all of this money to the commercial banks. Now, what happens here is that the central bank right now is the person who has been talking about a central bank digital currency. Okay. All right. So hopefully you guys are still with me. So this is not coming from the commercial banks. This is coming from the central bank. And what the central bank has said, and you guys can do your research on this as well, the head of the top central bank has said that we do not know who has $100 bill in their hand right now. We don't know, but we do want to know. And with this new digital currency, we will know. And this is coming from the head of the central bank. So, going back to what I said originally, guys, this is what they want. They want to impose this. They want to impose this because then they can control everything. They can know what's happening at all times. So what you guys think an actual cashless society will look like versus what an actual cashless society will be are two different things. And the government understands this and they know it. Because if it was just as simple as, well, we're removing cash and we're just going to just tap our phones from now on and that's that. If it was as simple as that, we would have already have done it, right? But the infrastructure required in order to do this would take years. It would take years for us to really start to implement this. This is not something that would happen in a month, in a year, in 2 years. And, and by no means am I saying that we're never going to a cashless society. It just won't happen within the next 5 to 10 years. And then even if we accepted that as a bill, as a law in our society, we still are not going to have this entire thing implemented until there's a bunch of testing done and things of that nature. So piggybacking off of the Fed Now article here from the Federal Reserve, they actually touch on this. They said the Federal Reserve has made no decision on issuing a central bank digital currency and would only proceed with the issuance of a CBDC with an authorizing law. Testifying before the House Financial Services Committee in March of 2023, Chair Powell said a central bank digital currency is something we would certainly need congressional approval for. Okay, so essentially, this will have to go through Congress, through the president. The president will have to sign this into effect. And even after they sign out, you guys that are good with politics and understand how this goes, as soon as a president signs something into effect, now we have to go through the process of, okay, is it going to get vetoed? Is it going to get pushed back? What's going to happen there? So we are still many years away from a digital society. So now is the time for you to invest in ATMs. And the reason why I say this is because it's the lowest hanging fruit outside of real estate. And with everything that's going on, more and more people are going to utilize cash as often as they can. More and more businesses are moving towards being a cash only. And they are anticipating these cashless societies. So what they're doing is they're pushing more cash. They're pushing to use more cash now before things get crazy and if there ever was a digital currency. Okay, because even the businesses that are moving into cashless, cash only, they have the same misinformation that a lot of you guys have. They might think, oh crap, well, July, I'm going to have to shut my business down because I don't like the idea of a digital currency. Because let's remember, guys, the number one reason why cash is still being used right now is because credit card companies are charging 2, 3, 4, 5, 6% per transaction per swipe. And this is the reason why business owners are going out of the business because they're spending so much money on credit card fees. So it really is out of necessity that a lot of businesses are still using cash. Okay. And until we get to the point where the president comes online and he says, listen, I'm signing this bill into place. Until we get to that point, there is absolutely nothing to be concerned about in regards to a cashless society. Right? So I just wanted to break this down for you guys because there's a lot of misinformation on what Fed Now is and what CBDC is, and also when it would come into effect, how it would come into effect, etc. So wanted to break this down for you guys. I appreciate you guys checking this video out. If you're interested in working with me further, learning more about how we can help you, what I want you to do is in the link in the description, join our Facebook group. Come and hang out with us. Come chat with us. Someone from my team will reach out. We'll collect a little bit of information from you, and then we'll take it from there. So appreciate you guys, and I'm going to see you in the next one.